When scientists work with bacteria, they use Aseptic Technique, a set of practices and procedures designed to help keep their workspace sterile, or as clean and germ-free as possible. These practices are important because they ensure you don't contaminate or make your sample impure with any microorganisms floating around in the environment, and that any samples you work with aren't spread to you or your lab surfaces. First things first. Before you do anything, clear your personal items from your workspace and put on your personal protective equipment. These are your lab apron, your goggles, and a pair of gloves. Make sure to select the size of glove that best fits your hands. Anytime you're wearing the gloves, remember to keep your hands away from your face. And if your gloves become torn at any time, remove them, wash your hands, and put on a new pair. Before you begin working with a sample, make sure your workspace is clean and not contaminated. You can do this by cleaning your work area with a bleach spray. Be careful not to get any spray on your clothes though. And don't forget to do this again when you're done working with your samples for the day. Now let's talk about actually working with bacteria. If at any time you're opening a container that contains bacteria or will be used with bacteria, make sure to limit the exposure of the sample to contamination from the air. For example, if you're working with a petri dish containing a bacterial sample, don't completely remove the lid of the dish. This would expose the inner surface of the dish and the sample to contaminants in the air. Instead, you should simply crack the lid of the petri dish open while you do your work. This will protect your sample and will keep your work pure. Of course, if you're streaking or transferring bacteria to your plate, you'll need to have the lid off to do your work. Because you still need to protect your sample from contamination, you'll have to hold your dish containing the agar at an angle. This will prevent anything from landing on the surface. Also, whenever you open a test tube that contains bacteria, you must always hold onto the cap and never place it on the table, or this could result in contamination. It's helpful to work in pairs to complete these tasks so that one person can open and close the test tube while the other is responsible for any manipulation of the sample. In general, when working with bacteria, you also want to make sure that these containers aren't open for any longer than necessary. The longer they're open, the more likely the chance for contamination. Whenever you need to touch or interact with your bacterial sample, make sure to use sterile equipment, such as sterile pipettes, sterile cotton swabs, and metal tools such as forceps that have been sterilized in alcohol. Never reuse anything that has touched your sample, unless it has been sterilized first. Equipment can be sterilized in many different ways, such as with bleach, hot temperatures, and steam.